traders are really struggling to figure out how to trade this because there's no direct supply losses. Yet the region, I mean, we've got Iran, we've got the whole GCC, we've got Iraq. The geographical proximity is probably just too close for comfort. And we saw prices go down 2 weeks ago on the back of just positioning and macro fears. And then, of course, you saw the rally on Friday. Nobody wants to be short into a weekend as well. And right now, it's just a lot of we don't know how this goes.
So let's talk about what we know, and then we'll maybe try and figure out what could happen next. But how's demand holding up?
Demand's okay. I mean, of course, it's slowing, which is what is to be expected. The global economy is slowing, US for sure. A lot of the excess savings that we've accumulated over COVID, that's coming off, and we are predicting by the end of the year, at least in the US, all that excess savings would have gone. So gasoline's held up really well compared to, what the macro backdrop has been. But that's the thing we are watching very closely that could actually mean that gasoline demand slows further. And we've seen gasoline prices come off quite sharply. Diesel, industrial recession ongoing. European demand has definitely been weak, but the rest of the world is, and emerging markets really good. Like China, India is still holding up very, very well.
And there's enough supply out there.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
So that's been, so if something were to happen, if the escalation, continues in this conflict, what happens to Iranian oil?
I think that's the risk the market's trying to price. Everybody, and rightly so, is trying to downplay Iran's involvement because, again, there's no upside in escalating it. But the market is focused on, Iran's been exporting about 1.7, 1.8 million barrels per day of oil. Now, there's another strand of thought that the U.S. would enforce sanctions more they've turned a blind eye so far this year, but it's hard for them to do that given China is the only buyer of Iranian oil and they bypass the U.S. banking system anyways. But that's really the focus. I mean, we don't think, or rather I'd say that we think the probability of a strike on Iran is very low. Yeah. Of course, right now, given the situation, you can't rule anything out.
Yeah. I mean, there has been in the past, saying or thoughts and saying, look, they could close the Strait of Hormuz in terms of an escalation.
Yes.
Does that send the price of oil to 150?
I mean, look, any escalation would, because ultimately inventories across the board are super low. Yeah. Diesel, gasoline, and products in particular, because refining has really struggled. The positive for crude is that at least there is spare capacity. Saudi Arabia, Russia, they've voluntarily cut production that could be brought back in the event of a genuine supply loss. But ultimately, the market's extremely tight. So yes, I would expect a very quick, rapid rise in prices if there were to be an escalation.